Hey, welcome to How to Play, brought to you by the Games Capital. The game we're looking at today is Celestia, which is actually a remake of an older game. It used to be called Cloud9 some years ago, and it's had a bit of a retheme. Basically what we're doing is we're travelling on this airship from floating island to floating island, collecting treasure as we go, and it's a bit of a push your luck style game. Before we get into the rules though, let's have a look at what's in the box. So the components for this game are pretty simple. However, it does have this one awesome component, the little airship. It even has a little moving propeller. So you have to build this at the start of the game. And then of course each player has a little token or a meeple. There's 6 of those, one for each player, so you can play up to 6 players. As well as that, each player will get one of these little discs in their colour to sit in front of them, which helps the other players remember who's what colour. There are 9 of these little discs that represent the different islands that you'll be travelling to during the game, and each island has a set of cards that match the island, and those decks of cards contain the various treasures that you're going to be collecting. As you move from island to island, the treasures become more valuable in those piles, but more on that later. There are 4 dice with different symbols on them, which are used at each turn to discover what obstacles you may have to overcome in getting to the next island. And then of course a main deck of cards which are used for the players to have to help them overcome those obstacles. So that's basically the components. Let's have a look at how to play. So Celestia is really a very simple game. As I mentioned before, it's a push your luck game. The aim of the game is to try and collect treasure. So these treasure cards are going to provide different valued treasures. The further along you get on these series of islands, the bigger the number. The aim is to be the first person to reach 50 points in treasure. But to do that, you've got to get safely to the various islands. So at the beginning of each turn, there is a captain that's assigned, and it's just in turn order, each person gets to be the captain. The person who is captain has to negotiate the various obstacles that may come across them as they travel. So to determine the obstacles, you roll a number of these dice. The number is determined by the next island that you're traveling to. Initially it's 2 dice that the captain has to roll. As the game progresses, it becomes 3 dice and then 4 dice, which makes it increasingly difficult to reach those more valuable islands. So the captain will roll his 2 dice, and that will determine what the obstacles are. Now at that point, before the obstacles are overcome, each other player that's on the ship must decide whether they think the captain will be able to successfully overcome those obstacles, or if they feel that he's not going to be able to do that. If they think he's not going to do it, then they may opt to leave the airship at that point. If they do, they leave and take a corresponding treasure card from the island that the ship currently is at. And that ends their journey. They won't play anymore until the round ends. Every other player that decides or thinks that the captain will be successful stays on the ship, and then the captain needs to produce cards from his hand to overcome the obstacles. There are 4 different obstacles that will need overcoming. We have the lightning bolt, and there is a matching card for that. There is also the birds and a matching card. There is the pirates and the matching card, and the storm clouds and a matching card. So depending on what's rolled, the captain will need to discard from his hand corresponding cards in order to overcome the obstacle. If he's successful, then the airship moves to the next island, and the captain moves to the next player, and we repeat the same process. However, if he wasn't able to produce the right cards, then the airship crashes, and nobody gets any treasure, and it returns back to the first island. Everybody gets back on board, the next player becomes the captain, and we start the next round. Now there are also some special cards that can come into play, so let's have a look at what they do next. So the special cards that can be played. First of all, we have this card here with the little 4-coloured symbol at the top. Basically, this acts as a wild card, so the captain can use this card to represent any of the 4 obstacles that he might need to overcome. That's how that one works. The remaining cards can be played by any players during the turn, whether they're the captain or not. So the first one is the disembarkation card, has this little hook at the top corner. What this allows you to do is force another player off the ship before it moves to the next island. So you can cause them to get off. They do get to take a treasure from the island that they're currently at, but they're no longer on the ship and obviously can't get to the higher treasure points. So that's the disembarkation card. The green card is the jetpack. This is very handy if the airship happens to crash and you have this card in your hand. You can play it to safely escape from the crash. You get to fly to safety with your jetpack and also take a treasure from where the ship currently is. So that could be quite useful. Then we have this pink card, which has a little dice symbol in the top corner. This card can be played by anyone, including the captain, and allows the captain to re-roll the dice. So ideally you would use this when the captain is unable to complete the obstacles. Play this card, it lets him re-roll the dice and hopefully then he's able to. And then the final special card is the blank dice card at the top there. This causes the captain, or forces the captain, to re-roll any blank dice. So on the dice there are also 2 blank spots as well as the symbols. A blank spot means no obstacle, so that's great for the captain. You could play this even if you are off, have left the ship earlier. You could force the captain to re-roll those blank dice, making it harder for the other players. So that could be quite nasty as well. So they're the special cards. Basically the game continues until a player has 50 points. The first person to do that announces that, and generally they are the winner of the game.
In summary, players alternate as the captain of an airship trying to reach the wealthiest of islands. Each turn, the captain may have to overcome several obstacles. The other players must choose to either stay on board or leave before the ship crashes. The further the ship travels, the potential for better reward, but the risk of crashing increases. The player with the highest score after someone reaches 50 points is the winner.
Well, Celestia is a great family game. Heaps of fun. The components are great. I love this little airship. I reckon that's awesome. And the push your luck element makes for very interesting gameplay. How long do you risk staying on board the ship to try and get those big points, risking, of course, getting nothing when it crashes? Great game, Celestia. Check it out. Thanks for watching. Happy gaming.